start off with a quick introduction. I took over as the CEO of Stadium nearly 2 years ago. Prior to that, I'd spent nearly 20 years with the Laird Group plc, of which more than half of that time I was stationed overseas, 5 years in the US and 5 years over in Asia, with a strong focus on their wireless and handset business. I'd like to spend some time introducing Stadium and then talking to you about some of the things that particularly we've been focused on over the last couple of years. Stadium does have a long heritage. It's a business with more than 100 years of history, originating in consumer injection molding products with customers like Nissan, Black & Decker and Mothercare. In the mid-80s, the business transitioned into becoming an EMS, Electronic Manufacturing Services Group, and then very excitedly from my perspective, what we've been focused on for the last couple of years is a transition to becoming a design-led integrated technologies solution provider, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. There are 750 employees worldwide, and I'll explain our global footprint in a little bit more detail, and obviously we're AIM listed with a market cap of circa 35 million. As a group, the core markets that we service are quite diverse. It would be fair to say that we've been very focused on aligning the products and the solutions that we provide into markets where we have core expertise and where we see growth. So out of these 8 sectors, if you were to take automotive, transport and infrastructure, healthcare and lighting, that would account for nearly 70% of the group's activity today. Our global footprint, and global probably is a little bit of a broad word. We're European and Asia focused. We don't have a presence in North America today. But as you can see here, we have a number of locations, 4 sites in the UK. We have a factory in South China and an office in Hong Kong. As you know, we spent some time in 2013 rationalizing that footprint to ensure we had the right setup. And previously we did have an EMS factory in Rugby that was consolidated into our Hartlepool facility. As well as having 750 employees, I think it's important to note that over the last couple of years there's been a significant upgrade in the leadership of this organization, with hand-picked and selected what I describe as Tier 1 electronics leadership coming into the group, which is exciting. The group, as its overall proposition, has gone through a process in the last couple of years of being reconfigured to support this technology solutions proposition. Historically, as I said, back in 2012, the EMS part of the business accounted for more than 85% of activity by revenue. As we go into 2015 and beyond, we see that significantly being balanced with a growth in the technology space. And what we provide there is 3 main solutions, if you'll bear with me on that. The first one is to provide power supplies in the medium and low range for industrial equipment and instrumentation. We also provide interface and displays. So think of an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy, and you have a chance to see some samples on our display stand. And through acquisition, we acquired a business in Southampton that designs these propositions. And then with an acquisition that I'll talk about in more detail in a moment, we also have a presence in the wireless space. M2M standing for machine-to-machine connectivity. So when we describe, or I describe the integrated electronics technologies companies, this is where Stadium is designing the product, designing the customized solution, integrating that technology into global OEM applications. On the other side, we have a division that makes EMS. So this is where we convert the boards and build the electronics. It's a core competence, and it's essential to be an integrated solutions provider, but obviously that has a slightly different dynamic. And by the use of the word I before EMS, the strategy here is to provide an integrated solution. I'd like to focus on the wireless space in particular with the time that I have available here. The power business and the interface business are both very exciting and have a lot to offer. But we made an acquisition last July of a business called United Wireless Devices, which we've named Stadium United Wireless. And I want to talk a little bit about this. This is a big step forward for Stadium as an organization. And by making this acquisition, it has established us as a credible player in the M2M wireless space. Okay. Overlay that on the global manufacturing and electronics footprint that Stadium has, and you instantly have the ability to scale this proposition to our customers as a view. What this acquisition did is it provided us with a business that has specialized RF, radio frequency, and wireless design capability on our products. It also has established supply chain relationships in this space, whether that be at the front end through chipset to module manufacturer, and there are 3 players that control the global market today with Sierra Wireless, Gemalto and Telit. 2 of those are strategic partners to this group, or whether it be through relationships with the MNOs and the network operators, the largest of those being China Mobile. But if you step outside of China, you then have Vodafone and a raft of others that are in control. Stadium has strategic relationships with Vodafone and Telefonica in this space. The sectors that are being supported by this business, as it says there, are automotive, fleet management, smart metering, asset tracking and healthcare as the primary vertical markets. But I just want to pause a little bit to give some background to this M2M opportunity in space, because a lot's discussed about it, and the initial area when you talk about fleet management or telematics has been about how you can improve the efficiency of your operations and your activity by connecting devices. But actually the real market driver here, the really exciting space, is actually, it's all about data. We heard a little bit earlier about the drive of managing data. By providing these solutions, it establishes the ability to monetize that data. So we go beyond fleet tracking to manage a fleet of vehicles to UBI, usage-based insurance, to e-call systems, where you're actually able to monetize the services that you're providing. And if we look at the market growth, the statistics that are out there from recognized research, this is seen as a more than 20-25% growth sector. It's measured currently today on the number of subscribers into GSM or CDMA linkage and capability. So the stats that are out there, 2013 there was about 135 million subscribers in this M2M space. 2014 circa 175, 176 million. And you can see the stats are saying that's going to go up to 600 million subscribers linked in to M2M equipment devices by 2019. But actually there's some other market fundamentals in here that make this an even more exciting space, because there's a couple of other key factors going on. So if you then step against that, 135 to 175, that's an increase of circa 40 million wireless connected devices. The module manufacturers record that they sold, the top 5 who have 90% of the market, that they sold 55 to 60 million in 2014. Because there's some other fundamental things going on in this very exciting space. The first one is replacement, and upgrade. So we've all understand what's gone on with our mobile phones as they've progressively upgraded from 2G to 3G to 4G. So in some cases you have an installed device that's then being replaced with an upgrade from the 2G network to the 3G capability, as an example. You also have a large raft of area of dormancy, where these devices are being installed in equipment, machinery, trucks, cars, medical equipment in hospitals, and they're not being activated or turned on yet. So it really is a very exciting growth market. So if I'd like to use this slide here to try and explain the core essence of Stadium's strategy towards an integrated technology solution provider. My background prior to Stadium was with LED, focused very much on consumer electronics, mobile phones. The same revolution that took place in 2007, driven by the iPhone, is taking place today in the industrial electronic space. What happened in the consumer electronics is happening in the industrial. And what that is, there are four main drivers. The first one is about miniaturization, everything getting smaller, tiny, you could describe it. The second one of these is about efficiency, how we manage the power that's required to drive these devices. We've all talked about our biggest bugbear on our mobile phones as they become more feature-rich, being the fact that the battery disappears. The third one is connectivity, the ability to actually connect with equipment and devices, what's called OTA, over the air. You can actually do this remotely and talk and program and drive the software or the hardware or the firmware through a remote location. And then the fourth one is the user experience. Okay? Genuinely, people in the industrial space now, whether you sit down in a meeting with JCB or whoever, are saying we'd like this to work like an iPhone. In the industrial space, people are wanting to have that form of interface with their equipment. So you take those four drivers and you put them into a product. And this is just as an example, a security access control system. And you create a great product, but for an electronics business or for the machine, you create challenges. As soon as you bring those things close together, you have noise and interference, which kills connectivity. As soon as you bring those things together, you have heat, which kills power and all the rest of it. And being able to provide an integrated solution to customers for this is a very exciting and compelling proposition. So we're not complacent about the changes that are taking place in Stadium. As we continue on this journey, there's a lot going on that we're very excited about. And some of the key initiatives as we transition from being an EMS business to a technology company to a full integrated technology design solution provider, there's some exciting stuff happening. We are expanding our global footprint in the appropriate manner. We're looking at leveraging the wireless capability, so using our EMS factories to convert the designs that we provide for the wireless space is being very well received by our customers. We also have a great opportunity with regard to our cross-sell capability. So Stadium, prior to this acquisition of wireless devices, had a long roster of global OEMs, household names. And nearly in every one of those meetings that I sit in now, one of the top agenda items that is being talked about is how do we address the connectivity question? How do we manage the data that's coming off our device? And how do we build that into the solution? We have a great opportunity to cross-sell our technologies. As we transition into being a design business, we are investing in our design capability. That comes down to good engineers and building on the ones that we already have today. And I think I mentioned earlier some of the partnerships that we have, whether that be in the wireless space, the power, or the electronics, is to actually operate and leverage those partnerships that the organization has. And it would be fair to say if it fits our strategy, it's linked to the four cornerstones of the integrated solution, then we're actively pursuing complementary bolt-on acquisitions in those spaces. Again, what does that result in? I think the first thing is 2013 was a year of restructuring and reorganization to launch this strategy. 2014 was a transformational year for Stadium in starting to deliver on that proposition. And again, whether it's the solid bar of actual or the guidance from our full year 2014, which we announced in March. Again, I think if we look retrospectively, that's an interesting analysis of data. But of course, the most exciting and important thing is to look forward. And if we were to take order books, they are a window of the future. I think between 2013 and 14, we've seen a 60% growth in Stadium's order book, okay, which is created by a lot of hard graft. But the most important thing about it is, and if you can see by the pies that are in here, is the shift in what that looks like. So 68% of our order book in December 2013 was EMS, manufacturing services in the electronic space. If you wind forward, we now have 40% of our order book at a net number with a pound sign before it. That's actually slightly larger, but it's effectively flat, is now 40%. So we've seen no decline in the EMS business, but we've seen a radical growth in our technology proposition and the orders that are being placed to support that as we look forward. So again, just to sort of close, why is Stadium of interest? Why consider investing in Stadium? Again, I think as I've outlined there, I see Stadium as a growing and profitable business. Most importantly, being a company that does what it says it's going to do and delivers on the proposition. And for the last couple of years, that's what we have been doing, and we'll work very hard to continue doing that. I think we've made a couple of very good acquisitions, but the last one is very exciting. It's in the right space, and with what Stadium has as its latent infrastructure, it's a very, very exciting proposition when you pull that together on this case. So again, by doing that, by transitioning from EMS to technology design-led solutions, we're increasing our return on sales. And you have my assurance as an organization, it's still a very competitive space out there, electronics, and you need to be the best. And setting world-class standards in our operations is at the top of the line. From a cash position, it's positive, and we're also a progressive dividend-paying business on that side. So we're making a progression to a higher margin integrated technology offering, and we're delivering on that plan. Thank you very much.